Soldier Mage King, Chapter 30, Excalibur. The ceremony naming Arthur as official heir to the throne came on his 21st birthday. It was a lavish ceremony, a newly forged crown shining in the candlelight. Everything was going well until the horse crashed through the window of the banquet hall. Uther knew that crest better than most. It had been the family crest of his late wife, of the brother he had slain in single combat after her death when he was blamed for it. He would never forget that. Arthur, just a babe in his nurse's arms, Tristan had wanted nothing to do with the child. All he cared was that his sister was dead. Her body had barely gone cold when Tristan threw down the gauntlet to Uther. They'd fought, and Uther had won. They'd buried Tristan with all honors, though he'd cursed the king with his last breath, swearing he would return someday. It seemed someone was aiding his curse so long after it had been cast. He should have known it would be Nimue. "This plays out better than I could have ever imagined," she said, and he turned, not even fully shocked that she was here to gloat. Arthur would fight Tristan, who was already dead. There was no way of killing him again. "I should have known," Uther said, staring into his wine. "Soon Arthur will be dead. The gift I should never have given you rescinded, and you will know the horrors you have put me and mine through," Nimue said, leaning on the back of a chair in the council room. She'd once occupied one of these chairs, so long ago. "Do you not grow tired of revenge?" Uther asked. Nimue stiffened. "Do you? You have slaughtered countless of my kind to ease your own guilt," she snapped. "The guilt is yours. You practiced evil in my halls," he shouted. "I was your friend. You welcomed me here," she spit back at him. "You killed Igraine," he accused. "I did not know whose life would be taken in the creation of your perfect little prince. If I had known it would be her, if I had known the retribution you would seek, the bloodshed this would cause, I would never have granted your wish." "I wish you hadn't," he muttered. Nimue froze, then shook her head. "You wish you didn't have a son. By this time tomorrow you will not," she said, and Uther finally reached for the sword at his side. "I will not let you take him. You have brought this upon yourself, Uther Pendragon." She vanished without a trace as Uther drew in a breath to call for the guards. He could not let Arthur fight, so he hatched a plan and had Gaius drug his son. He would sleep through the battle and wake a king. Galahad was waiting to attend Arthur, but quailed slightly as Uther entered the tent. But he dutifully helped him don a set of armor. It wasn't his, but it hardly mattered. Then he handed him a sword he didn't recognize. "This isn't Arthur's sword," Uther commented. It was magnificent. The pommel worked in gold, the hilt covered in supple leather, soft as doeskin. The blade gleamed with gold as well, and a strange inscription that Uther could not read. "No, sire. Merlin brought it. She thought Arthur might wish for a sturdier blade for this fight," Galahad said, eyes on the floor. "Merlin did. Who forged this? It's phenomenal work, but does not bear the mark of the royal blacksmith," Uther asked. "I think she said Tom, the blacksmith in town, did, sire." "Arthur, came a voice from the tent flap as it opened to reveal Merlin, her usual scarf in one hand. She blinked for a moment, fear and relief warring on her face before she remembered herself and curtsied. "Sire," she blinked at Galahad. "Where's Arthur? Prince Arthur." Her voice was shaking slightly. "He will not be fighting today," Uther said, stepping up to her. "It was kind of you to fetch him a new sword. You show him incredible loyalty." Uther gently tilted her chin up so she was looking at him. "He will need that when I am gone. Look after him, Merlin." Uther released her and headed out to the tourney field. Merlin could sense the lake before she saw it. She wasn't sure why this place was the way it was. Something in her suspected it had always been different. Few enough people came here, despite the abundance that surrounded the lake. There was an air about the place. She'd felt it the first time she'd come here, following Ulfric to his audience with the Sheed. Plants grew strangely the closer to the lake she got, spiraling in unnatural patterns. Fruits in strange shapes sprouted from branches of trees that should not bear them. But that mattered little at the moment. In that moment, Merlin was trusting to the oddness of this place to keep a secret safe. She made her way to the edge of the lake, which seemed to shimmer despite the cloud cover. Hefting the sword in both hands, she threw it as hard as she could, watching as it sunk below the waves. She frowned to herself as she stared at the lake for a while. She was glad the wraith was dead, and Arthur was safe, but she could not help but wonder what would happen if she ever needed the weapon again. Shaking the thought, Merlin stood, trailing her hands over the flowers growing at the edge of the water. She took her time heading back to Camelot, picking some of the rarer herbs that grew here to bring back, both for Gaius and as a reason she'd been gone so long. Sighing, she smiled as she spotted the white towers of Camelot in the distance. Home, she thought to herself, with only a small touch of irony.